Welcome to Super Footy headquarters, really. My name's Sam Edmund and this is Sam Landsberger. Sammy, we're here for Trade HQ.
We certainly are, Sam. Not about our morning to kick off the final week of Trade Week. A little teenager called Tom Boyd might want to trade. What's going on?
What happened to this quiet trade period we were going to have where very little movement was going to take place? So we're about halfway through at the moment and everyone's going anywhere. It's absolutely amazing. You're right. Tommy Boyd today, well, the doggies, they said, we take yours, we see yours, and we raise you. Obviously, Ryan Griffin nominating the Giants, and in turn, they've targeted Tommy Boyd, and he's nominated the Western Bulldogs.
They really need to move Trade Week from Etihad Stadium across to the bottom level of Crown, because this is just the poker games going on left, right, and centre here. What a masterstroke move by the doggies. Griffin contracted, they say you can't have him. Giants say, turn it up, he's ours, give him over. And the dogs say, all right, well, your number one pick from last year, Tom Boyd's coming back the other way. What a genius move. He's the one sort of player this club has been crying out for about 20 years. If they can get this done, there will be not one fan regretting losing Ryan Griffin.
I tell you what, the doggy supporters are frothing at the mouth. Twitter has gone into meltdown. But I ask you, Sammy Landsberger, a person with very close links with the Western Bulldogs, can they make this happen?
There's no doubt they've got the artillery there. I mean, Griffin wants to go there. That's been said. The Giants want in the
The Giants won't do a straight swap for Griffin.
No, of course not, but they've got pick 6 to play with as well. They've got 26 and 27. I don't think that there'd be any other players the Giants would be after. But when you've got Ryan Griffin and picks 6, 26 and 27 as a starting point, you've got to be well in the game. The Giants have said this morning they won't under any circumstance trade Boyd. Well, I think the Bulldogs said something pretty similar about Ryan Griffin on Thursday, so things can change pretty quickly.
Oh, in the Dogs' case, they changed in about 24 hours. I think it went from contract to yep, you're going and we'll sack the coach as well because you're going. So quite extraordinary. You're watching Trade HQ here, folks, at Super Footy. Anyone who strolls past that we like the look of will suck right into this room and put them under the griller. A question here from a few seconds ago from Berger, Sammy Landsberger. Sammy Landsberger looks much happier than on Friday. Tears to beers.
Yeah, can't wait to crack a few ones tonight, maybe. But Friday was a pretty tough day for Doggies fans, obviously, with Mackie going out of nowhere. Followed the captain departing the day before, but things turn around pretty quickly. I think if Jason McCartney, the list manager, is the one behind this, he might be getting a few credits in the bank for a statue pretty quickly if he can get the Boyd deal done. It's just turned the entire complexion of this football club on its head.
Let me ask you this, because we know the Western Bulldogs are struggling to pay their portion of the salary cap. In fact, as it stands, they're probably nowhere near it. They can afford to pay Tom Boyd an extraordinary amount. What do you sort of speculate the offer would be and how enticing someone like Tommy Boyd? Tell figures all
but you would be in this 5-6 years at probably around, if not at least, $1 million a year.
At least $1 million.
Around, if not at least. Now, and that makes sense. I mean, they threw 1.6 million at Tom Lonergan over 3 years. They threw $2 million at Levi Green over 4 years. Both said no. They've got the money there. Griffin's going to leave. We think Cooney's going to leave as well. Yep. I've got no doubt that that's where the offer would probably be. That's the ballpark it would be.
So if you're a young player and you're all about the cash and the folding stuff and you want to get paid, there's no better place to be at the moment than at the coachless kennel.
If you're 19, 20 and you can come home and earn $6 million, not a bad offer, is it?
Bloody amazing. Just while we're on the Dogs and before we get to some more questions and players, what about the coaching situation? Now, it's obviously still fresh, but they'll be out there in the marketplace, the Western Bulldogs. Who's the shortlist at the moment? Pure speculation because we haven't had a chance to work the phones too much yet today. But who's in the mix?
Look, I think they've moved pretty quickly on this. I think they're already sort of constructing a few. I think Peter Gordon said on radio this morning that they lost 5 games by close margins this year. They just need someone to come in and maybe finish them off a little bit. So that probably bodes to an experienced coach. Brett Montgomery will get a look in. He was a senior assistant under McCartney, no doubt. He'll be interviewed. Him and Peter Gordon also are in a cafe together at the Whitten Oval. I'm not sure if that helps his chances or not. Hopefully not. Brett Ratton, you'd suggest, would be heavily in the frame as well. I like his chances. You look back on reflection, it looks like he did a pretty good job at Carlton. Mick hasn't really taken them forward in his 2 years since Ratton left. Since he's left, he's been involved with 2 premierships at Hawthorn.
That's the big thing, I think.
His stocks right now are as high as they're going to be. He's going to be right in the frame for me.
And I reckon he'd be keen as well. We might go to a couple more questions if we can. We'll start with the top one here from Onions. G'day to you, Onions. Not that I really care too much. We've lost Onions this question. We'll get to you in a minute. Not that I really care for them too much. But how do you think City Hall will react to Boyd wanting to leave their special project team? Now, it's an excellent point.
Not happy.
Would not be happy because, let's be honest, Shield has continually talked about. Jax is leaving. O'Rourke has already left. There's obviously Boyd, and there's whispers about Jeremy Cameron leaving. Dom Tyson leaving 12 months ago. So the special baby might be back in the fetal position.
I love there's so much irony in this. I mean, the Giants pinched #1 draft pick Tom Scully after a couple of years.
He's good.
They've gone after Ryan Griffin, a captain. Well, maybe the Camel Bus has focused in on Black Tan just a little bit.
Take your scarf off, son.
But it is a worry. I mean, I think the Giants, when Griffin requested the trade last week, they were internally just beating their chest. How good is this? If we get Griffin across the line, suddenly the Giants look like a destination club. They're a club players want to play for. Suddenly, if Tom Boyd slips out the next week, that undoes a fair bit of
Tom Boyd slips out. We know that Patton's recuperating from a second knee reconstruction. Jeremy Cameron's out this time next year. It's a big off-season for Jeremy Cameron, not in the sense that he could go, but he's probably sitting here looking at all these guys leaving, his young mates, and thinking, geez, all of a sudden the lure of the MCG and big crowds and returning home might appeal to him even more as well.
Absolutely. If you watch Tom Boyd get, about 1 million smacks a year, and you're already an All-Australian,
you cut up, it makes you think.
It makes you think. The Dartmoor Footy Club renamed the Giants, I think we spoke about last week, from the Swans. It'd be a big loss to them too if Jeremy was to follow suit. But obviously,
what are you saying? He's going to go to Dartmoor? Okay, a couple more players. We'll whip through them and then we'll get to a few more questions. You're watching Trade HQ here at Super Footy. Sammy, what about Ryan Schoenmakers?
Yes.
Unbelievable this. Had dug in, wanted to stay despite the big money backline that they're assembling down there at Hawthorn. And now Hawthorn has said, actually, Ryan, we might be trading you.
Yeah, fascinating read by yourself this morning. He wanted to back himself and back his talent in to crack that back line, even though James Frawley headed down to Waverley. Respect that from Ryan Schoenmakers. Great move, but now the Hawks might say on the back of the John O'Rourke deal potentially, list spots are at a premium. We might have to ship you off, especially so we can get into the draft that earlier than pick 43.
You'd have to think Fremantle are interested, and they are. They've got pick 34. I know Luke McFarlane's playing on, and there's Aitness and Taverner and Silvani and all these guys, but they really need to bolster their defensive stocks down there. In Adelaide as well. He's from Adelaide. They've got pick 31. They probably need some help for Daniel Taylor as well.
Just shows you how quickly things can turn on the radio stations this morning. They might have been talking about should the Dogs get Ryan Schoenmakers in exchange for Adam Cooney, and an hour later Tom Boyd pops up. So just shows you how quickly this dynamic works. We've got 4 days left. It's going to be fascinating.
Thankfully, only 4. The Jehovah's are coming in, which has stopped us from making it 5. So we get Etihad, all down to Etihad a week earlier, a day earlier.
60,000 of them
really
pack Etihad, so I don't know if
I wonder
what your door knocking's like, but if you're free on Friday, wander down.
A quick one here from Chris G. Any updates from the Blues on Jones or Jax? Now, you're in a position to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Chris and Jax deal will go through pretty quickly. It looks like it will be
7?
Pick 7 and... What? So the Blues give up pick 7 and they get 19 Jax and Mark Riley in return. And
Mark Riley. What do you know about Mark Riley? Anything?
There's a little bit of a whisper going around that he might be the Anthony Miles of 2015. Right. He's got a big body. He's a really good tackler. He did a few good jobs. So I think he's played about 9 AFL games. But his 2013, 2014 knee full numbers are significant. So he's just got a little bit of interest. I think the Lions made initial inquiries. I don't think they're going to pursue him anymore. But there's certainly more than Carlton in the mix for him, which is surprising because I don't think anyone had really heard about him before last week.
It's not a bad deal for the Blues, really. I mean, reached a complete stalemate with Jackson. It looked as though for a while they were going to have to get a third party in, but now there's been some wheeling and dealing. Does that still leave the door open for them to get Jones, as Chris is asking as well, because they could give off their third-round pick for Jones?
Yeah, I think Jones will get done as quickly. Well. They're pretty confident on that, probably for a third-round pick.
And Christensen as well. I think that's a fait accompli, pick 21. The Cats seem happy with that. He's got his own personal issues down in Geelong. He needs to get out. So we think that'll happen for Brisbane today.
Pass a medical on Saturday with his back, so that will go through today for pick 21.
Okay, here's one from the Peacemaker. I don't know if it's a very peaceful question. Any word on Luke Dalhouse? This isn't the Dogs out, folks. We'll move on. The word on Friday was he wanted out.
Yeah, that surprised me. I'd be expecting Luke Dalhouse to stay put.
He might be captain. Who is going to captain the Western Bulldogs?
Mate, Robert Murphy might have to take it for a stopgap year.
Really?
Sean Higgins might have been a contender before he left. I don't know. It's
who else is going to do it now?
No one crying out for it, that's for sure. A lot of people throwing up Liver's name. I'd be surprised if Liver was captain next year.
gee whiz, coach captain. Maybe you get a young like Stuart Dewan, sit him in the forward pocket. He could be captain as well. I'm not really sure.
Just like Dallas, he'll go pretty well at the feet of Tom Boyd next year.
Now, yeah, Dane Beams. Now, we're led to believe all reports are that it will in fact be a 5-club operation.
Yeah.
Jack Crisp is involved as well. It involves picks 5, 25, and Crisp leaving Brisbane and going to Collingwood. Collingwood then used 25 on Levi Greenwood, but we could go on and on about this deal. People want to know, who the heck is Jack Crisp?
Yeah, it's a Murderford lad. He sort of jumped into the spotlight that late this year for Supercoach fans. I think he came in and was a bubble boy about round 18, Al Payton tells me, and he was just scoring 100 after 100. He's a really good tackler. He's a defensive-minded player. The Lions took him as a rookie, but he really did come on in probably the last 2 months of this year. So the Pies can net him, Levi Greenwood, and pick 5 for Dane Beams.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, what do you make of that?
No, I think that's pretty good for Collingwood. I think that's the best of a bad situation. It's a terrible situation.
They wanted a big fish like Paddy Dangerfield. That wasn't forthcoming. But if they get, those three entities in, it's pretty good bang for their buck, you'd reckon.
And they lose Lamumba, but that's no great loss. And if they get Levi Greenwood in, then that's a good hard inside midfielder.
And Travis Varco as well.
Yes, and Travis Varco apparently coming up the highway from Geelong. Here's one from Dave. Do you expect Pies to shop Beams? Al, it might just scroll down
Scroll up there, Al.
Do you expect Pies to shop Beams around, and then on Wednesday they just accept 5.25 and Crisp? Well, look, potentially. I would have thought that deal's basically 99% of the way done, Sammy, and will in fact happen. So they probably did try elsewhere.
I think they wanted to maybe pull the Giants in, and the Giants sort of said on the weekend that their priority was clearly getting the Ryan Griffin trade done, and now they've got a little bit more going on, so you'd expect Beams to be a line.
Tigers 2016, any truth to the rumours? Trengovan 23 for the Tigers for 12. We've written about that one. And then 23 and Conker to West Coast for pick 11. Conker and West Coast have been linked. He's a West Australian boy. And West Coast have been in contact with Reece Conker's management as well.
Yeah, that surprised me. Didn't see that one coming. On the Trengovan, Jay Clark all over that. That's starting to look pretty likely.
Yep.
On that one, first of all, former captain of Melbourne, the youngest captain, in league history or something.
I like that deal for Melbourne, though.
Yeah, same.
I do. I like pick 12 come back the other way.
Look, if Jake Trengo was in this draft, he wouldn't go in the top 15 players.
Yep.
So to get pick 12 in your door for him when you've already got 2 and 3, it sets you up pretty nicely, I reckon.
I think that could be a good move for both parties, to be honest. Trengo gets to rejuvenate his career, a fresh start, and Melbourne get some great picks in the draft now. What would they have?
2, 3, 12.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Not a bad starting point, especially maybe if they want to, I don't know, will they try and get pick 1? Who knows? They might enter the frame there as well.
And the rumours persist about Jack Watts. He's been involved in a few discussions. No sort of concrete offer on the table a la Trengo, but he keeps featuring, both from Melbourne's point of view and rival club's point of view.
Yeah, North Melbourne might have had a look a couple of years ago very quietly, and I think what Paul Roos did say after round 22 or 23 or something, that every single player on a list was tradable. So if you take Roosie for his word there, he's on the table. Everyone else is. Nathan Jones is.
Well, I'll tell you, Sam Blease is on the table. Speaking about Melbourne players, obviously delisted now. Can you believe Hawthorn offered pick 33 for him this time a year ago? And Roosie said, no, we can work this. He's quick. I like his pace. We can turn it around. 12 months later, he's delisted and they get nothing for him. It's amazing, those sliding doors moment, isn't it?
Matty Bate was the same. I think you might have mentioned yesterday. Yeah, had a bit of interest one year.
Amazing.
Mark Neal didn't do the deal, then sacked the next year. So
another one from Dog Tide here. Sammy, do the Hawks have any interest in Adam Cooney?
Nah, 0. I think it's either North Melbourne or Essendon. And he also had a couple of clubs inquire from interstate, but he said, I want to stay in Melbourne, and you'd think North Melbourne would probably be favourite to get him next year, and probably for next to nothing, a late pick.
Okay, let's have a look at some more here. The Saints, you're all over this today. We loved it. The document, the 40-page blueprint for success down there at Seaford. Who will get the #1 picks and their grand plans for 2020?
Well, it's thrown up in the air now in terms of #1 pick.
Wow, this is true.
The Dogs and the Giants were probably 2 clubs that were talking to them about it. Now, again, as we know with Tom Boyd, they've got a lot of other fish to fry now. So that might weigh it in the fact that St Kilda might hold on to the #1 pick. There's no doubt they want to do a deal. They want to get multiple early picks back in exchange. It's an even draft. It suits them if they can walk in with 2 top 10 picks in 22 instead of pick 1. But in terms of their grand plan, love this from the Saints. They're open, they're honest. They want to get 18 players in the door through to the draft in a 4-year period, which started last year. 18 players in the first 3 rounds of the draft, and then they're going to go bang at free agency from 2016. So they're already restructuring their TPP, their salary cap to free up space. So, yeah, 4 years of really strong, heavily investment in the draft, and then hit free agency really hard and try and build for a flag.
So just on what they envisage in return for pick one, it was either a couple of early picks. What about players? Was it like a Melbourne sort of scenario?
Exactly right. Exactly right. It was either multiple early first-round picks or the Dom Tyson trade, where you get in a talented youngster which fits their demographic and a prize pick. So you either slide down the order and get a youngster, or you get a couple of early picks.
Here's one from Damo. I would like Collingwood to get Ryan Schoenmakers for our defence. Well, the Pies have got a couple of blossoming young defenders down there, do they not, Sammy? We've got Frost and we've got Keith Reed, as well. Reed.
We can play either end.
We can play either end, but yeah, Schoenmakers could work. Here's one from Mick Malthouse. We don't think it's the real Mick Malthouse. Anyone keen to take Mitch Robinson off our hands? We'll trade for a slab of Coke. We'll even top up his Mikey for the trip. We might have to take Jack Rewalt's Mikey, but lukewarm, I think, is the word we use for someone like Mitch Robinson. It was Brisbane initially.
Well, it would have been an expensive Mikey to send him to Brisbane, but I reckon they've gone cool as well, especially if they get Christensen and Beams in the door. You can't see Mitch Robinson even getting a game there.
He did meet with Peter Schwab early doors from the Lions, and there was some interest, but that's cooled significantly. There was always more interest in Jeff Garlett talking about tradable Blues from Melbourne. Essendon met with Jeff Garlett as well. So he's obviously found a home. With someone like Mitch Robinson, wait till he becomes a delisted free agent, I suppose, and you move on pretty quickly from there. Here's one from Sunshine. What do you think North Melbourne need? Do we really need to bring in so many older bodies? And is Brad Scott hampering the development of the younger players on the list?
Second part's interesting. You'd suggest not. I mean, there's a couple of fears from a few North Melbourne fans. You get Jared Wade in. What does that do to Mason Wood's development, Ben Brown? But not a huge worry from my point of view. He's only going to be there 2 years. He's not going to play every game. In terms of bringing in too many older bodies, well, it depends if they can help or not. Losing Greenwood's going to be a big blow. I mean, it's North will spin it differently, but it's effectively you sign Higgins, you lose Greenwood. I mean, that's, in terms of monetary values, they're probably on similar amounts. What do you make of the situation at Arden Street?
Yeah, Greenwood's definitely a blow, but they clearly think they're close, don't they?
Yeah.
Their recruiting suggests that this year. Their recruiting suggested it last year with Nick Del Santo. They made the prelim this year. Whether it turns out to be a false economy or not remains to be seen, but clearly bringing in players that they have done suggests that they think they're close, and the time to strike is now before the likes of Boomer Harvey leaves, Drew Petre leaves, all those sort of
Love the aggression. Good on you.
Have a crack.
They've topped up with the draft for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. You spend 2 years going hard at players, and
they went boom right off the top, didn't they? Jared Wayne and Sean Higgins landing in the first few hours of the window opening.
Yep.
Sammy M says any chance of any of the Cats, Christensen, Varco, Hunt, staying would be a lot of pace lost, and that it would.
Yeah, it's a good point. Christensen will be done today. Varco, you expect, will be done, and Taylor Hunt wants a fresh start as well. So you'd suggest very minimal chance of any of those three staying at the category.
Okay, any other deals? Paddy Ryder now. The deadline's Thursday, 2 p.m. I reckon this could be a 1:59 and 58 seconds.
This is
if at all.
What's going on here? Is he a free agent? He's not a free agent. Well, he's not now. The deadline's passed.
Yep.
Is he going to a grievance tribunal? Is he not? I don't know. It's just up in. Is Brisbane offering pick 5? No, they're not. Everything. This changes every 5 minutes. I've got no idea.
Now, Essendon played his management played the big card. Mick Warner, lucky he kept moving, would have sucked you in. Essendon played Paddy Ryder's management played the big card, the big interview in the Herald Sun with Scotty Gullen, which was a fascinating
read.
You wonder if that was a few body blows to Essendon, and maybe Essendon thought, okay, that was your best shot.
And then the next day,
he'll quit.
Paul Connors goes on radio and says, well, if it's not Port Adelaide, he's going to retire from footy. And that came 3 days after James Hird said, if we can't get a deal done, Paddy will stay at Essendon. Paul Connors says, absolutely no chance.
I think both are absolutely ludicrous. And then would Essendon really want one of their best players involving them in another court battle? I mean, another player coming in and detailing everything about the drugs program and everything?
They've finally got the fans on side that court isn't the way to go. They applauded the decision not to appeal the federal court ruling. They don't want to go back to the courtroom. They have had enough in there, and then they haven't got a very good strike rate either. So
at the moment, Port have tried to include Cam O'Shea, but he wasn't that keen to go. There's pick 17s on the table. I mean, Essendon, we know, are notoriously hard to deal with. But is it really going to get to the point for them where they just suck it up, tail between the legs, and accept 17 and maybe a later pick, or 17 and a player, and Paddy Ryder goes? It is absolutely fascinating, and we'll be talking about that, I dare suspect, Sammy, on this program for the next 4 days.
Definitely. It's a big one. What else have we got to play out here, Sam? What are the other names? Now, we've gone through Ryder, Jack, Stringove. what else is at play here? What else? Is there something which we've missed? Is there something which could yet bob up?
Well, there's a very real chance that could happen. I don't think Tom Boyd, we expected that to happen today. Norm's come through and asked, will Sam Frost get to the D's through a trade or pre-season draft? I don't have any read on this whatsoever, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, look, the Giants initially wanted a second-round pick. Melbourne wasn't too forthcoming from that point of view. They are a fair way apart. It's shaping up that the D's might get him for nothing, especially if St Kilda and Tim Memory can't do a deal. There's a bit playing out there. The Swans basically don't need any more draft picks. They've taken 3 academy boys. They've got pick 39 from Melcheski.
So I'm sure they'd love to probably bring some players in, but hey,
AFL says no deal.
That's a whole other podcast / video / radio show.
This is a nice issue because if the Saints can't satisfy the Swans with an early pick of 39, there's no point doing a trade. So the Saints could get Memory for pick 1 in the pre-season draft, which then means Melbourne can get Sam Frost at pick 2.
Yeah.
So they're a big chance of getting for free of the D's, which would be a nice result.
Here's one from Michael, who's Carlton most likely to end up with once the trade period closes. Well, Michael, we talked about Christian Jacks. That's most likely to happen. Mark Wiley will probably be involved with that as well. Liam Jones, we think at the moment, is relatively straightforward. What about someone like Jason Tutt, old King Tutt? What's going to happen to him, mate, in getting to the Blues? Because that's what he wanted to do.
The talk was that he would go through as one of the late deals on Thursday for probably a 4th-round pick, 5 years in the system, 24 games, I think. But now, with McCartney gone, Brendan McCartney, that is. There's a little bit of talk that Jason Tutt might stay put, but we'll obviously have to wait and see.
Purely coach-related, do you think?
Well, I'm on the reading, reports, but that's the inkling early days. But yeah, a lot to play out still. And the Dogs would like to keep him because they're not flush for pace. So I'm pretty sure they'd be happy if he sticks around.
Still trickling on here at Trade HQ, firing your questions as we wind up another show for a Monday. Here's one from Nick. Is a straight swap Griffin for Boyd fair, or would either team need to throw in some picks to sweeten the deal? Surely GWS do not allow a straight swap.
Absolutely no chance. The Dogs would probably have to, you'd suggest, I'd say no early days, but you'd suggest pick 6 might have to be thrown in. And that would give the Giants 4 and 6. And 7 potentially for Jacks.
Because you weigh it up. Okay, Boyd, it is delicate. It's an interesting situation. Boyd, unproven, let's be honest. Huge raps, number 1 pick, but unproven. Had a couple of weight issues at the Giants as well. Compared to Ryan Griffin, 28, 29, bad back.
3-4 years left.
Possibly best footy behind him. Yes,
he's a
captain. The back's all right now.
Well, his last game, he had 38 disposals and got 3 Brownlow votes. So on that, I'm saying his back's all right.
All right, that's probably a fair assumption to make, I would have thought, after that sort of performance.
Peter. No doubt, Nick, the Dogs will need to throw in a sweetener.
How old is he, Tommy Boyd? 20?
19, 20.
19, 20. 19, I think he is, actually. So... enormous upside. Beams to the D's, Peter says.
In a word, Peter, no.
You're allowed to dream, Peter. Dream big. Build it and they will come. Maybe not. Maybe not with Dane Beams. Here's one from Gaza. Ben, you think Pies would on-trade bet pick 5 and a player for a star from another club?
You can answer that one, Sam, because I'm confused.
I am confused. There's no Ben here, but I don't know what Ben would say. But pick 5 and a player from a star for another club. I spoke to a few player managers, and they were suggesting that in their dealings with Collingwood players, that they speculated that Collingwood was doing something massive. That they were clearing the decks, making room for a big acquisition. So maybe someone like Paddy Dangerfield to come across. But now that's almost certainly not going to happen. Depends on who you speak to. Collingwood, they've got no money whatsoever. Salary cap's full, or they've got heaps of room and they're about to make a big assault. But it really depends who you speak to there. The truth's probably somewhere in between. Sticks Junior, Clark to Cats. Why is that taking so long?
Well, the answer, Sticks, is that it's now involving 5 clubs. When you've got a 5-club deal going on, you can't put that through in about 5 minutes. So, yeah, it will happen. It's going to be part of that big exchange.
It's Varco, it's the whole kit and caboodle. It's Chris probably as well. It's Beams. It's everything. So
pick 5, pick 25, pick 21. I
can't wait for the AFL email to come out on that. It's going to be a 4-page attachment on the one trade. It is going to be mind-numbing.
Might come out in November.
Yeah, that's right. Here's one from Harry. Good to hear from you, Hazza. Seems to be a lot of big men around. Loudon, Grimley, Giles, Sinclair, Griffin, Ryder, Leuenberger, Gorringe. There's not enough homes for them, surely. Who'll find a home from them?
Well, the Giants are very happy to deal with Jonathan Giles. I really like him. They know he wants more senior opportunities. They understand that. It's Adelaide or Essendon. I reckon Adelaide will probably get him.
Yep.
Leuenberger I haven't heard mentioned at all.
Likewise.
Gorringe wants to trade back to SA, hopefully Port Adelaide for from his point of view, that's a chance to get done.
Yeah, so they get him and Ryder.
Yeah, and they've already got Lobby on the books. So that's strange.
Loudon, we know, wants out of Hawthorn. I really like Luke Loudon.
Yeah.
He's seriously worth a crack.
He's a couple of games this year. He looked really good. His VFL form was supreme. Grimley leading goal kick from the VFL. Will he get a new home?
No idea about Grimley. I got to say, I got no idea about Sammy Grimley. We'll have to wait and see. A lot to happen there. Who cares? Has anything really happened trade-wise today? Well, who cares? You're a tough crowd. It's a hard act to, if you're going to set the bar very high. Sorry, who? Look, okay, we've got one of the most promising young full forwards in the competition who wants to leave and go for the Western Bulldogs. So, okay, a trade hasn't been done, but that's enough to satisfy our urges in here, at least for the time being. But who knows? The day is relatively young. So we'll wait and see how it plays out here at Super Footy, Samuel.
Absolutely. Can't wait for Trade HQ. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 p.m.
We will be. Join us then here at superfooty.com.au for